Hello, my name is Tolg, and I exist, therefore I think too much. I am reading from Fred's book about what he presumes to be beyond good and evil, apparently. And I am on chapter 3, which he entitled The Religious Mood. And I'm on point 52, and having gotten a few points in, believe that the religious mood is simply him saying that he does not necessarily agree with religion. But he likes that it creates a system to follow. Okay, on that note, point 52. In the Jewish Old Testament, I also drank today and then decided to talk for hours at end in the cold, and I kind of lost my voice. Not making an apology, I'm just letting you know why it sounds fucking weird to me. Don't know if you hear it the way I hear it. Anyways, point 52. In the Jewish Old Testament, and also the point of it saying Old Testament is in quotations, so I'm not sure if he disagrees with that being the Old Testament. In the Book of Divine Justice, there are men, things, and sayings on such an immense scale that Greek and Indian literature is nothing to compare with it. Wow. Okay. So I don't know, I came across something recently that made me throw a general fit. When Christians say they follow Christ, I don't know how often they understand that Christ, Jesus, was Jewish. And so all of these teachings about like what not to do is in context of a largely Greek-run society corrected by a Jewish man. So the lore isn't quite followed by the Christian Bible. It's not necessarily printed in the Christian Bible. Instead, just who invested in what, who inherited what, and who ought to be shamed is printed. However, very few times is it stated what culture they participated in and what religion they participated in, unless that is something that ought to be demonized. And even then, it isn't, to my understanding, there is nothing in the text that lets one know the investment in any religion that is demonized in the Bible. The time in which that religion has existed prior to, Judaism existing. And for the Middle East, most religions existed prior to Judaism. When the Bible was written, Judaism was pretty new in comparison. Not necessarily saying that it's very new, but in comparison to the other religions in that area, it was pretty new. So the sentiment of, Judaism having incredible lore, yes, it does. That lore is not translated into Christianity. And it does not negate the lore of other mythologies or religions. Greek, I don't know, because as I understand it, Greek religion did what Roman religion did, which was adapt to whatever area was overcome by war, taken in by society. And then you take that into your religion, Greek or Roman, and mold the gods over into the gods that you would prefer to be praised. So just add the capacity of the god you prefer to be praised to the god that already existed in that area. So as far as lore where Grecian religion is concerned, is like, I don't know. That's kind of difficult to say. Especially if you're trying to compare and contrast Judaism, where they have a tendency to keep that book under lock and key, so to speak. If you're not participating, you don't get to know the spaghetti monster. Okay, having said that. And I mean, no insult to Judaism, as much as that sounds really fucked up to say. I just mean every religion has a spaghetti monster. And I mean to hearken on Cthulhu. But Judaism is very complex, as much as I understand it. It is... it's got a lot to it. I'm not even going to try to get into the myths that I have uncovered. But, as far as, like, if you were to look into jinn, yeah, that's just a bit of it. And like Grecian religion, it does share a hell of a lot of similarity with other religions in the Middle East. So I don't know that, this sentiment of Judaism has more to it than Grecian and Indian literature is correct. One stands with fear and reverence before those stupendous remains of what man was formerly. I guess, yeah. And one has sad thoughts about old Asia and its little outpushed peninsula, Europe, which would like, by all means, to figure before Asia as the progress of mankind. Only if you destroy the progress that mankind had before it. There's a college. To call it a college is kind of insulting. In Saudi Arabia, that was absolutely destroyed by Europe. But it was like a main staple, like people would travel to go see it. It was the center point of commerce, of the economy. It was like a main part of culture and religion and understanding. And from what I understand, it was where the first instance of the atom was mentioned. There were a lot of acclaims that could be attributed to this college, and I can't think of the name of it for the life of me, but most people don't accredit the Middle East with the many things that I thoroughly believe they deserve to be accredited for, especially in that, chronologically speaking, they oftentimes had these advancements before northern counterparts did. Reference Library of Alexandria. So as like progress of mankind is concerned. I'm getting a phone call, hold on. Okay, so now that I'm back from outer space. To be sure, he who is himself only a slender tame house animal. Okay. Why does it have to be slender? Speaking as an American. Oh, sorry. No. As a citizen of the U.S. And knows only the wants of a house animal, like our cultured people of today, including the Christians of quote-unquote cultured Christianity. So I assume he does not like Christianity. But he does like Judaism. Need neither be amazed nor even sad amid those ruins. Which ruins? To figure before Asia as the progress of mankind. The ruins of Asia? And the taste for the Old Testament is a touchstone with respect to great and small. That's what she said. Perhaps he will find that the New Testament, the Book of Grace, still appeals more to his heart. As it should. It was a redesign of an entire culture. There is much of the odor of the genuine, tender, stupid beadsman. Beadsman. As I understood it, I was just talking about this today at the bar. There was a trade of beads when people would migrate. Like, part of my heritage, and only a part of it, because I'm like 7 different races, is Czechoslovakian, which I was told never to say because they went through a civil war, which is part of the reason my grandma migrated, my great-grandma. But, you know, many people having migrated for the same reason. There was a trade that began through their beads, that they had created this whole economy off of glass blown, but glass check beads. So when it says beadsman, I'm wondering if that's kind of what it's referencing. I don't know, though. Sorry, there's much of the odor of the genuine, tender, stupid beadsman and petty soul in it, in the New Testament. To have bound up this New Testament, a kind of rococo of taste in every respect. If you ever get into like studying history, Rococo is known, as far as I understand, and I am a limited human, Rococo is known mostly for its fashion sense because it was like at the height of France blowing its money, but simultaneously not really taking care of its people. So I think this is intending to insult the New Testament by saying that it is superficial. Along with the Old Testament into one book as the Bible, as the book in itself, is perhaps the greatest audacity and, quote, sin against the spirit, unquote, which literary Europe has upon its conscience. I didn't say it. Someone else said it. Nice. So there was this thing that happened where Israel said, if you're Jewish, you can come live in Israel. I think like free of charge or something. But most people don't talk about this. So there's this whole sect of people that exist in Ethiopia that are primarily Jewish, and they had been inheritors of what they understand to be the initial Bible. I would side with them. The initial meaning like the unedited version. The 80 books that had been taken out are still in it. So when Israel gave this claim, so many Jewish people from around the world moved. But it was understood that if you were not white and Jewish, then you were forced to become sterile in order to live in Israel. And it always, kind of fucked with me that those who would be the inheritor of the unedited Judaic Hebrew Bible were not good enough to be in the Holy Land. Also, according to Judaism, nah, I won't say that. I'll leave that to those who are practicing Jewish. Anyways, point 53. Oh, that starts off with a question, which is why atheism nowadays? Because people lost hope. The Father in God is thoroughly refuted, equally so the judge, the rewarder. If you believe in reincarnation, then no. Also, his quote-unquote free will, yeah. He does not hear, and even if he did, he would not know how to help. Unless what is help is not what you understand to be helpful. If you live in a subjective reality, and reality is only objective, then someone who exists outside of your perspective in an objective understanding, moving pieces around the board, you may feel unaffected, but may not be able to see the whole picture. The worst is that he, being God, seems incapable of communicating himself clearly. Is he uncertain? The Christian God's just certainly, absolutely. This is what I have made out by questioning and listening at a variety of conversations. That is the issue with Christianity. Ooh, that was creepy. My TV is situated within my eyeline, so I see my reflection. Caught me off guard. Oh, right. So Christianity has, to say that, is a general term, like an umbrella term, and then everything underneath Christianity kind of branches off. So like Luther and Catholic and non-denominational is just no denomination, and whatever else, Baptist. So yeah, it's a wide term. And if you are to attack Christianity, you are attacking like 80 other religions. And by definition of them being separate, they cannot agree with one another. So if you were to then argue Christianity on the premise of it cannot, land on anything, then fucking duh. There are too many beliefs under that umbrella term. If you wanted to make a definitive argument, I think it would be far more worth anybody's time to choose a specific thing to take up issue with rather than a very general thing. Okay, so this is what I have made out to be the cause of the decline of European theism. The decline of European theism was when Europe decided to genocide all of the Celts. There's another word. It starts with D, I think. Druids. Oh yeah, genocide all the Druids. It appears to me that though the religious instinct is in vigorous growth, it rejects the theistic status. I hate this word. Satisfaction? No, that's not the word. That's why I hate it. Oopsie daisy. Okay. It rejects the theistic satisfaction with profound distrust. Generally speaking, it would. Yeah. And I've said generally way too much. Hey. But yeah, Europe had an issue with every time a monarch changed seats, so too with the religion. Always, normally, Christian, but like Protestant to Catholic to Luther, depending on the monarch that held the position. And sometimes the monarch would change out by the year. And so a large part of the European populace grew weary of religion because it was like illegal to believe in what they would believe in for the year prior. And I think if a sentiment is held strongly enough, I mean, science has gone out of its way to prove this, but if a sentiment is held strongly enough, it can be inherited chemically. And maybe this is my theory on it. The chemicals are inherited, but the understanding behind the chemicals are maybe not. So it would be like a nature-nurture thing, where you would understand the chemicals and then be brought up by someone telling you how to feel and why to feel that way. Otherwise, if you were brought up by someone that wasn't telling you what to feel about something, you would just have the feeling, and you would probably, like me, you'd suffer anxiety but not know what the fuck you're afraid of. Yeah. Anyways, that was 52 and 53. 53 was very short. Have a good night. Take care of yourself. Do well, drink well, eat well, sleep well, and be well. Bye-bye.